Hello, my Belfast House Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, I hope it gets better from here. All right, we are back with Coffee House Crime. Yeah. This one's titled Turtle Island's Dark Secret, the case of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller. I really got to stop reading the last names. I know I'm murdering the shit out of these. It interests me. It's called Turtle Island. I like turtles. Turtle, turtle, turtle. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's story. Go ahead and turn them lights down low. Put on something comfy, colorful, someone special. Let's get emotional. He brings those emotions up, y'all. All right, let's get into today's story.
When on a tropical island, it can be pretty easy to slip into paradise and forget about the reality that you've left at home. But how would you react if you found two fellow tourists dead, just meters from your hotel? My name is Adrian, and welcome back to Coffee House Crime. Today we're looking at the case of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller, two tourists found dead on a beach.
That's how I would feel. Hey, two tourists was dead, like... Why? That would be my response.
On the island of Koh Tao. There's a lot that doesn't quite reach the surface in this case, with allegations of corruption, framing, and even the time mafia said to be involved. And just a quick one, if you're new to this channel, I post both solved and unsolved cases here on a weekly basis, so if that is your sort of thing, please consider subscribing to Coffee House Crime. So pull up a seat, grab a coffee, and sit back. This is the story of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller. Today we're in Thailand. Thailand is home to roughly 66 million people, and rests just north of the equator between Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia.
It's pretty.
It has a tropical climate, and thanks to that, it enjoys spectacular weather throughout most of the year.
Never mind.
In addition to this, the country...
I like snow. I mean, I don't want snow all the time, by any means. Like 24/7, no. But I do like my winter. Yeah. Plus, it just looked weird cutting down a palm tree, putting it in the house for Christmas. You know what I mean?
country holds a moderately low crime rate, and is considered to be very cheap to visit by Western standards. It is for these reasons that Thailand is an often visited country from tourists all across the globe, and with over 10% of Thailand's revenue coming from tourism, it's a very critical industry to the country too. We're in Koh Tao, the smallest of the main islands in Thailand's Champon archipelago. Koh Tao, affectionately translated in English to Turtle Island, is only 8 square miles in size. Found a little over 25 miles north of its neighbouring island Koh Phangan, and 250 miles south of the capital Bangkok, it's a small piece of tropical paradise on its own in the big deep blue. With vibrant coral reefs, warm temperatures, spectacular sights, and a vast range of accommodation to suit almost any person, Koh Tao has something for everyone. And that is what brings almost...
Damn, like if YouTube just for some reason just stops existing, he would make a damn good travel agent. I want to go. Like, let's pack our shit. Everyone go to our island right now. It's 8 miles, we can all fit.
500,000 tourists to the island every single year. Well, actually, it's not just that, it's the full moon party too. A party that, you guessed it, happens on the night of every full moon. Although originally more of a small gathering back in 1985, the full moon party
It's a werewolf party.
has grown through the years to become an oversized night of drinking between the islands, now hosting up to 30,000 tourists every 28 days. It is the full moon party, along with the island's relaxed rules and laws, that actually attracts most people nowadays. And in 2014, two of those people was Hannah Witheridge and David Miller. In the year of 2014, Hannah Witheridge was 23. She lived in England, and had just finished her bachelor's degree in speech and language therapy from the University of Essex. She was known as a fun, vibrant and beautiful young woman who had a love for animals. She had taken the summer away to relax before returning home to start a master's degree, but while away she was keeping in regular contact with her family. David Miller was 24 and he was from Jersey, a small island situated between England and France. He had just completed a civil and structural engineering degree at the University of Leeds, and he too was taking a break from it all to visit Thailand. He was described as a bright, young and talented man. Both David and Hannah had reached Koh Tao on the early morning of September the 12th, but at the time the two didn't know each other. Hannah had arrived with 3 of her friends and David had arrived with 2 of his own. The island is roughly 2 hours away from the closest airport, and so it's quite difficult to get to, pretty remote. Both groups had reserved bookings at the Ocean View Resort, a series of bungalows quietly nestled at the end of Sairee Beach. And it was at this resort that the 2 groups first mingled, and David and Hannah first crossed paths. David staying in room K8 and Hannah in room A5. Over the course of the next 3 days, the now larger group explored everything that the island had to offer. There's diving, giving you a chance to spot a reef shark or a stingray. There's Mango Point, offering beautiful views over the island. And if you just want to chill out, there's plenty of bars and restaurants along the beachfront too. There was also the promised half moon party, which was scheduled for September the 16th. With full moon parties happening only every 28 days, the island's adopted half moon parties to increase the frequency. For a while now, moon parties have been becoming more of a problem for the locals of Thailand's islands. And rightfully so. Other than the blaring music and loud travellers going by your front door every 2 weeks with these parties, it also creates a lot of rubbish too. And I mean a lot of rubbish. It doesn't stop at the environment though. The party, which is also rife with drugs and drinks getting spiked, is also prone to violence and mishaps. What else do you expect with 30,000 people off their rockers? And although the islands have hospitals, they are small and remote.
It does sound fun.
Koh Tao, being the smallest island of the main 3, has a relatively tiny population of only 1,400 people. And most of that population are there to staff the island for tourists. While there are Thai residents on the island, most are migrants from Myanmar, a country that neighbours Thailand. Some of these residents though are often working here illegally, and when compared to Thai locals and tourists, they are far from treated fairly too. So it is now September the 14th, day 3 on Koh Tao for David, Hannah and their groups of friends. They'd been busy the entire afternoon soaking up the sun on the beach, and they were now planning to head into town for dinner and drinks. They did that, and afterwards they would stay out for more drinks with conversation. Now one of the great things about being on a small island is you don't have to hop very far to go from bar to bar. And while AC Bar and Chopper's Bar were already popular choices by many tourists, they were also the proud selection selected by David and Hannah. At around 7 PM, CCTV captured Hannah walking with her friends into Chopper's Bar. She was wearing a pink top and white shorts. And shortly after that, at 7:47 PM, David, along with a friend of his, joined the group too. He was wearing a white and blue shirt. It was here that the 2 groups of friends hung out, sharing a few drinks and conversations together before taking this picture. Just after midnight, Hannah along with the other girls were seen walking to AC Bar, just 200 metres from their hotel. And shortly after that, just before 1 AM, David left his friends at Chopper's Bar to catch up with Hannah and the others. David found them and the night continued. A few conversations and a couple more drinks later, and both David and Hannah felt like the night was pretty much over for them. And so the two, they said goodnight to their friends, got up together and headed back towards Ocean View Resort. This would be the last time though that anyone would ever see them alive. It was early in the morning.
It's one of those ones where it's just so damn sweet, and then it goes so damn wrong. Oh.
Hours that a beach cleaner was starting her shift.
Oh, shit.
It was then, at the south end of Sairee Beach, that she came across a gruesome scene. She had found the bodies of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller. They were both found only 30 metres away from their hotel. They were semi-naked. David had received multiple head wounds, scratches on his back, and water was found in his lungs, indicating that he had succumbed to drowning.
Oh.
Hannah had been hit several times on the head and face, before being assaulted. 2 items were found nearby. One was a bloody garden hoe, and the other a wooden club. Their clothes had also been tossed to the side, and David's mobile phone was missing. Following the murders, local residents had blocked the local piers to stop any suspected killer from leaving the island. But back at the crime scene, police were handling it very badly. With the island's size and low level of violence in the area, there were only 6 police officers currently stationed on Koh Tao, and although they did try to scramble more from the neighbouring island Koh Phangan, it would take a few hours until they arrived. Tourists and locals alike were seen crowding around the area, some walking over the crime scene and sealed off walkways, even taking pictures of the body.
This ain't like it's what the fuck ever. This is the perfect spot for the sun. Bro, I ain't moving. Oh, you're serious? That's so...
And sharing online to social media. To add to the devastation, those pictures would find their way to Hannah's and David's families. Not only would they have to deal with the sudden pain, sadness and shock of losing a loved one, but now they'd have to deal with the visual representation of it too. It wasn't until 11 AM that mainland officers would arrive to Koh Tao, and as police fought to keep control over the area, those officers would take DNA samples from the bodies, the weapon, and from cigarette butts found nearby. These were then sent for forensic analysis, and then David and Hannah's bodies were finally taken away. Following the tragic loss of David's and Hannah's lives, social media and the island itself would slowly drive Koh Tao into chaos. Reports and investigations would contradict each other, police statements would be disorganised, and who the suspect was would change drastically, starting at David's friends, moving to Thai locals, then to speedboat drivers, and then to migrants, and then even to the Thai mafia. DNA found on Hannah and from the cigarette butts found at the crime scene would eventually lead investigators to believe that the killers were of Asian origin.
I mean, are you serious? Who didn't get blamed? That's shitty police work. Sorry, Thailand people.
And DNA samples were then taken from hundreds of migrant residents on the island to try and find the killer. It was noted that during this time, Burmese migrants who were working on the island had started making various claims that Thai police officials working on the case were being verbally and physically abusive towards them, even trying to frame them as the killers to David and Hannah. And this made logical sense too, if you think about it. By now, David and Hannah's deaths had made international headlines, potentially putting off tens if not hundreds of thousands of tourists. With 10 to 13% of Thailand's income coming from tourism, they really wanted to find the killer fast.
Oh my god.
Allegations even came through relating their murders to the Thai mafia, a Thai family that controls most of the business on the island. They control what comes in and what goes out, and they have an overbearing monopoly on the island. And while allegations linking them to the murders couldn't be confirmed, something else that was becoming more and more clear were all the marks, cuts, burns and bruises appearing on multiple Burmese migrants. On the 2nd of October, 16 days after David and Hannah had been killed, some new progress on the case was made. A hotel had handed in CCTV footage about 2 weeks prior, and in this footage, they had found 3 unknown men near the crime scene that night. And while at first police didn't know who they were, they soon would. The 3 men were eventually identified as Mong Mong, Zaw Lin and Wei Pio. All 3 would confirm to police that they were workers on the island, and yes, all 3 would also confirm that they were on Sari Beach on the night that David and Hannah had died. Mong Mong could confirm that he was a legal worker.
What is his name? Mong Bong? Okay. That is very interesting name, sir. I am not making fun of it in any way. I actually kind of respect it. Mung Bung. If that's what he's saying. I don't know.
Worker on Koh Tao, but the other 2 could not. It was at this point that Mong Mong was released with no further questions asked. But as for Zaw Lin and Wei Pio, they were held and then arrested for breaching their immigration. It would only take 24 hours after that for Zor Lin and Wei Pio to confess to the murders of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller. They claimed that the murders were sexually motivated, and after that they had taken David's phone to sell for cash. Police would confirm that the DNA found on Hannah and on the cigarette butts perfectly matched Zor's and Wei's profiles too. However, rejoice would not last long at all. It would be 5 days later that an officer from the National Human Rights Commission would visit Wei and Zor in prison, and it was there that he would learn that both of them had been routinely abused and tortured not just before, but after they'd confessed to the murders too.
What the fuck?
It was here that two things happened. First, on the 4th of October 2014, a preliminary witness hearing was held at Koh Samui's court to capture official testimonies from 3 witnesses. The witnesses testified that they did indeed see Wei Pio and Zor Lin that night at Sari Beach, and one of the witnesses also testified that yes, Wei Pio did sell them a mobile phone, that mobile phone belonging to David Miller. But apart from this, no other evidence presented at the hearing linked either Wei or Zor to the murders. The next thing that happened was on October the 21st. After finally getting lawyers for the first time since their arrest, Zor Lin and Wei Pio officially retracted their confessions of murder and assault. They also reported that they had been beaten and tortured into submission by Thai police, so that they could fake an end to the investigation. Zor and Wei would then share with their lawyers.
What the fuck, bro? What the fuck, bro? I mean, I get I understand there's some bad cops in the world. I get that there's bad people all over the place. Like, I understand. But damn, how you gonna abuse someone into admitting they're a murderer just to have it over? No, get off your ass and figure it out. Because it's just going to happen again, and then you're going to have a bigger problem again.
Is that on the night of Hannah's and David's deaths, they were simply playing the guitar, singing and drinking on Sari Beach. Wei reported that he simply came across David's mobile phone before selling his lucky finding to a friend. And so at this point, the entire case is caught between a rock and a hard place. We have 2 suspected killers that had initially made confessions. Apparently their DNA matches the DNA at the crime scene, but now those killers have retracted their confessions, and questions are on police's integrity too. Did they frame these killers? And what is the correct way moving forward for this case? On December the 8th, 2014,
take everyone out to the beach. And then just, I don't know, shoot them all. That's... the whole situation's fuckered. That's all I can say. The police should have did a better job. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but the way they're going about things is teetotal shit way of doing it. Hell, I'm about half tempted to just say the police fucking did it. Like that's how I feel about them right now. Sorry. I don't even know which one we're on. 3, 4, 5. For another thing, it's not the first time they've been abusing people to try to say they did this. So it's not that far-fetched to believe that it's not happening again. Just take everyone out to the beach, line them up, and just shoot them all. That's your only option. You're not going to be able to tell who's guilty, who's not no more. It's all thought. Start over.
Zor Lin and Wei Pio were officially charged with the murders of Hannah and David. It would take until July 2015 though for their trial to commence. During their trial, prosecutors argued that the DNA found on Hannah and on the cigarette butts were 100% matched to Zor and Wei. But the defense would argue that actually, the speed and conditions that the DNA was verified was way too quick and poor to confirm it was them. And the case's division would continue to deepen. On one hand, medical reports from the hospital proved that no physical abuse was evident on the two, and neither of them had ever asked for help or to see a doctor. But on the other hand, a forensics expert defending the two would further question Thai police, claiming that they had failed to use a forensics doctor at the crime scene, and failed to test DNA found on the rocks and Hannah's clothes. The biggest damnation to the case, though, was the re-evaluation of the garden hoe used in the murder, because it was here that in new analysis, they found only 2 DNA profiles. The first one was David Miller. The second one was of an unknown individual. That DNA profile did not match Saw Lin or Wei Pio. And although this new piece of substantial evidence was brought forward in court, it wouldn't matter, because on December the 24th, Christmas Eve 2015, Saw Lin and Wei Pio were officially found guilty of murdering Hannah Witheridge and David Miller. They were sentenced to death for their crimes, and moved to death row. And they've been officially recognised as guilty ever since. There was lots of controversy to this case, not just before the trial, but after the trial too. And that's because there actually was no jury to this case, the entire verdict resting on just 3 judges, all of which who dismissed the new evidence, and also the allegations of torture or framing. Following the sentence...
No. I want a juror full of my peers, and I want to have my lawyer to have the ability to say, we don't want that juror because he looks like an asshole. I want the right to a speedy trial. I want the right to all kinds of shit. I want rights to things I don't even have rights to. But that's just me. No. I'm not going to let my fate rest in the hands of 3 judges who want the same thing the damn police want, for it all to be over with so they can start making money again. No. Fuck that. No. Not happening. You need to take me somewhere else. No, this is unfair, cruel, and unusual. I don't even know what you'd be able to ask for. I'd call someone. I'd call Ghostbusters. I don't know who I'd call. Who would you call? Who do they have? Because now I just kind of feel bad for them. Like, what if they really didn't do it? Don't get me wrong, what if they really did? Then, definitely, by all means, it's what the hell ever. But what if they really didn't? There is other DNA.
And conviction, a lot of backlash was given against the verdict. This even coming from Hannah's sister, Laura. And even Anonymous declared war by hacking several Thai governmental and police websites, and calling out Thai officials with corruption in order to keep their tourism industry afloat. These efforts were in vain though, because every year their retrials were denied. But in 2020, both Saw Lin and Wei Pio were officially spared the death penalty and their sentences changed to life in prison, thankfully due to a pardon from the king. And in the time that Saw Lin and Wei Pio were behind bars, the death toll back on Koh Tao has done nothing but continue to grow. Christina Ainsley mysteriously died on the island in 2015. Luke Miller was found in a swimming pool in 2016. Elise in Koh Tao's jungles in 2017. Also in 2017, Valentina disappeared too, leaving behind her passport, phone and wallet. The list sadly goes on and on and on and on. And that's where we are today. It doesn't look like Saw Lin or Wei Pio will ever be given a retrial. Did they kill Hannah Witheridge and David Miller? That's also something I don't think we'll ever fully find out.
Possibly.
The two still claim innocence, but with police and external interference muddying the waters so much, it really is hard to tell. The only thing we can be certain of is the harrowing loss of Hannah Witheridge and David Miller. 2 young adults just at the very beginning of their independent lives, out on holiday to celebrate their educational milestones. Their lives cut short during a time they should have felt as happy and carefree as they ever could. In 2019, Hannah Witheridge's sister Laura Witheridge would also fall severely ill, and on September the 16th, 2019, she too would die, exactly 5 years and 1 day after her sister did back on Koh Tao. The pain that both families have had to experience is honestly unimaginable, and for Hannah's and Laura's parents to have to go through that pain a second time just 5 years later, it devastates me. For the record, Thailand is a beautiful place, with their breathtaking sunsets, inspiring temples, vibrant cultures, and jaw-dropping scenery. There's a lot to like about the place, but as with all destinations, you have to take precautions too. So if you do ever find yourself on a plane to Thailand, look after yourself and your friends. Thank you again for watching.
Damn. Emotional roller coaster every time I watch this. Every time I watch COFFEEHOUSE Crimes. I don't know how to feel about it. Like, what if they really are innocent? Like, it's already proven that the police want just to be over with. Who's to say that the judges ain't going to be the same way? That's still money that their economy needs. They have to have it. Like, it is what it is. I get that. But that doesn't mean just pawn off someone's murder on two people that maybe baby did it. I don't know. Maybe baby. And if the police wasn't so shitty to begin with, like, I probably wouldn't believe it. Like, no, yeah, they're just saying shit. But with it being, my brain's gonna fizzle. It is. I feel it's gonna. Alright. If y'all enjoyed today's video as much as I enjoyed it, please leave a thumbs up. If you're a fan of the spooky, scary, strange, or deranged, or just plain out the emotional roller coaster, think about subscribing. That's what we do. As always, be good to one another. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Man, I'm gonna cry into my pillow ever so tenderly tonight. That's just it. It's gonna happen.